Well, I'm leaving. So it's down in Milwaukee. I mean, usually I either fall I keep thinking white died. I'm sorry, I remember seeing it.
What?
It's been a while for There were 4 and anyway, we all wanted to be extreme too. So all of us. Oh, yeah. Well, I'm kind of. This is also for she manages. I said to Phil, she looks too complicated. Good for the updates and the license.
Thank you, Jason, for opening the service this morning. And good morning, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Door County. I know everyone is wondering why that chair is so empty, but our speaker has been slightly delayed, but he is expected to be here shortly. But we will go ahead and start. As a member and on behalf of this fellowship, I welcome each and every one of you here in person and for those online to this morning's service. Please take a moment to silence your cell phones or any other noise-making items so that we can enjoy the service without interruptions. As a way of further welcoming you, I'd like to quote these words by Lucas Hergert. Love is the doctrine of this church. Our faith in each other is its sacrament. Working for justice and living with compassion is its prayer. Reverently, we covenant together to side with love, to heal and not to harm, and to share hope with each other and with the world. Thank you again for your presence this morning. I'm wondering if there are any visitors here this morning or anyone who has not been here for a while. It is our custom to have you stand, tell us your name, where you're from, and what might have brought you here. It's just our way of welcoming you more fully. So, do we have anyone? Yes.
My name is Janet Jensen. I am a member of Unitarian Church North, just north of Milwaukee or north of Mequon. I have friends here, and we came to visit a friend of mine who lives in Ephraim, who was a colleague of mine way back when I taught in Watertown schools, orchestra as a matter of fact. So I'm very happy to be here. Took some pictures of this gorgeous interior. We have the Octagon Barn, so ours is a kind of cool church too. And I hear you know Tony Larson pretty well. So,
Yeah.
Tony is now our once a month speaker. And we have a new part-time minister. His name is Scott Alexander. A Sheboygan, I guess, by birth or by origin. Tony was from Racine. Was he from Racine also? Oh, okay. All right. Shows you what I know.
I'm sorry.
I'm very happy to be here. No.
And we're happy that you're here. Yes.
My name is Pam Williams. I've been here before. I'm from Portland, Oregon, and just can't get rid of me. Even when it's snowing outside, I wasn't sure if I could make it in, but I'm glad I did, and it's nice seeing everyone again.
Yes, it's nice that you're here. Thank you. Yes.
Chuck Ruth and from Unity Temple in Oak Park. We just hired Roger Birchhausen, the former minister of Hamilton.
Oh, well, thank you. Welcome. Anyone else? Okay, well, thank you very much. After the postlude, everyone is invited to share conversation along with coffee or tea in the gathering room. And after about 15-20 minutes, the chimes will sound, which signals the start of the talkback with our speaker. And I believe he's on his way. We'd like to end the talkback at around 11:45. And then for those of you wanting to stay, you can help with decorating the Christmas tree. Please take a look at the announcements on the back of your order of service. Usually these pertain to the fellowship, but if anyone has another brief announcement that they'd like to make, I did not ask someone to take the microphone, and I think Cindy Steele is going to do that. Thank you.
Well, if anyone has room for a little more music, the Peninsula Music Festival is performing this afternoon at the First Baptist Church, just right down the street at the foot of the hill. What did I say? Oh, yes, I do mean the Peninsula Singers. Sorry. I got up at 4:30 this morning. That's my excuse. I hope I don't do that in the middle of the concert. Anyway, it's at 3:00 and you are all very welcome. And we do have refreshments afterwards.
Okay, thank you, Peggy.
Okay.
Hi, Karen Winzans here. You probably You probably noticed that there's a new exhibition in our gallery, and they are the quilts of Vicky Ash. And Vicky, would you like to stand up and just say a little?
I can't tell you the joy I had when my husband and Karen and I got done putting up the quilts the other day, and I got to stand in that big space and turn around and just see all of those seasonal quilts in one place. It did this quilter's heart a lot of good, and I hope you all enjoy them, and I appreciate the opportunity to let other people see them. Thank you, Karen.
And thank you, Vicki.
So I want to get on your calendars. If anybody is interested in taking a road trip on January 7th, the First Unitarian Society of Milwaukee is sponsoring a Democracy Day. This is sponsored by their group that's called Defending Democracy. It's a very important kickoff, a very important way for us to start this whole Get Out the Vote campaign for 2024, and it will be critical. If you want to go, let me know. We'll figure out how to get everybody down there.
Thank you, Mark, and we're glad you're here this morning.
Good morning. I just wanted to remind you that I know it's in the announcement, so just a reminder that next Sunday at 1:30, there's going to be a piano duet concert, four-hand concert here on that beautiful instrument over there that Jason plays so well. And my wife, Kathy, and her piano partner, Sandy, will be here 1:30. It's not a long concert. It's about an hour. And they do everything from classical George Frederick Handel to Cole Porter to Scott Joplin. It's a very entertaining 1 hour of piano music.
Thank you.
If you haven't noticed, on the bulletin board, there's a sign-up sheet to bring wonderful treats for our holiday party after the solstice service on December 17th. Our service that day starts at 4. So don't come at 10. You won't get treats. And if you come at 4 and there are no treats, look in the mirror. So please sign up. Very direct.
Oh, my. Well, I kind of hate to really start the service with the chalice lighting. I'd kind of like our speaker to be here, but since there's no sign yet, Jason, do you think you could play a Christmas carol that we could sing together? Oh, how about, Oh Come All, I don't know if we have it or not. Oh Come All You Faithful. Oh, okay. Uh, I think that he is almost here. Thank you for your patience and I believe we're in luck. I think we're just about to start, Karen. Thank you, though. Good morning. We're very happy you're here and that you're here safely.
Pleasure is mine. Thank you.
Okay. Now that he is here, we are fortunate to have him. I hope you've had a chance to read the front of your order of service. Brother Butler provides an international perspective on developing the minds and hearts of youth, particularly that of Black boys and other boys of color, particularly. He also has professional development coaching for corporate staff and staff at all levels of schools. He spoke here exactly 1 year ago, and we're happy to have him back. We will now open this morning service with the lighting of the chalice after these words by Adam Slate. When the great mosaic of humanity is treated with respect and dignity, when no person is threatened by hunger or war, when we have extended hospitality to the stranger and tended to the sick, when equality and justice reign everywhere, then we shall all be free. We light this flame to hold that moment in our spirit and in our minds until we can make it real. Please stand as you are able in body or spirit for hymn number 292, and we will sing it through twice, and then remain standing for the unison affirmation and the doxology. We gather together to seek knowledge and wisdom, to explore freely the vast reaches, mind and spirit, and celebrate the caring community, those truths, ancient and modern, which give meaning and direction to our lives. From all that dwell below the skies, let songs of hope and faith arise. Let peace, goodwill on earth be sung in every land, on every tongue. This being the first Sunday of the month, we illuminate one of our 7 principles. Number 6 states, the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. You know, it's just really hard for me to come up with my own words for this. So I took the easy way out, and I'm going to quote Bob Janice Dillon. Each week, there may be someone for whom our congregation is a lifeline. Maybe they need the tolerance and acceptance offered in liberal religion. Maybe they need a community to support their growing soul. We hope to always be ready to welcome the stranger into our midst and give them a place of shelter. As we gather together, we let our light shine out into the world, promoting peace, tolerance, and justice. Okay, joys and concerns. Is there something that has happened to you, good or bad, that you would like to share? Sharing good times and bad times help us to be more caring. If you would like to share something, Cindy will bring the microphone to you. And once again, be mindful that we are live.
Peggy Lott, and I have to share my concern really for the Needlemans, Jerry and Margie Needleman. Margie Needleman has been in the hospital many times over the last 6 weeks, and she was in hospice as of the beginning of last week, and she passed away on Friday. Been talking to her husband this week, and he was going to come to the service with me this morning. He said, I need a community of people, of caring people. And I said, Jerry, anytime you're ready. Obviously, his family is all here now, but you'll meet him when he comes, and we'll be glad to welcome him into our midst.
Meg Ziegelman under Joys. Once again, extremely proud to have one of our own be the upfront lead person for the holiday concert yesterday at the Ephraim Moravian Church. The performance was absolutely outstanding, beautifully, beautifully done. And the energy in there was captivating as a result of that. He will be performing again on New Year's Day, so if you're not a football fan, you might enjoy seeing that performance as well. Thank you.
And you're speaking of Colin, of course. Colin Welford. That's who she's talking about.
Okay. We will now have this morning's offering. Your contributions are a tangible commitment to the mission and vision of this fellowship. Please give as generously as you are able. We will now take a moment to silence our busy thoughts and to appreciate our peaceful surroundings. The reading this morning is entitled Soul Lifts by Tess Bauberger. Wouldn't it be great if you could take a picture of your soul? Then, when your mother wanted to brag about you, she could show people the picture and say, "This is my daughter. Doesn't she have a beautiful soul, all sparkly and many-colored and flowing all around her?" Wouldn't it be great if we walked around surrounded by our souls so that they were the first things that people saw instead of the last things? Then people would judge us by who we really are instead of how we look. Imagine no more racism, ageism, sexism, faddism, shortism, homophobia. Imagine falling in love with who a person is just by looking at them. It would be kind of a cloaking device, hiding physical faults, defects, or even imperfections. I'd want it to be mandatory. Then people would work at making their souls more attractive instead of their bodies and faces. Imagine people knowing you by your soul, that you really need a hug. Imagine people helping each other and their souls changing colors or growing. Imagine soul gyms with exercises to get your sagging soul in shape. Imagine the long lines forming for soul lifts at temples, churches, fellowships, mosques, synagogues, or nature's grand cathedrals. Wouldn't this be great? Now, the last time our speaker was with us, he sort of indicated that we were on the quiet and sedate side. So I want us to put our hands together and give a big, loud welcome to Brother Amazu Butler.
Good morning, beautiful people. I love that. I love that reminder because I did tell myself if they don't go loud for me, we're gonna have to start it all over again from the top. And I'll introduce myself and do some backflips, and we'll make it a thing up here. But it's my pleasure being here. The roads were a little bit slippery. I was staying at a town right outside of Green Bay, and I woke up to about 3 or 4 inches of unshoveled and unplowed snow. So navigating through that, the roads was much clearer here, but in that town, I was like, "What are we doing?" But I'm excited to be here. As mentioned, it's been a year ago almost to the date since our last time exchanging words, connecting, building, and building community. So much has happened, so much has transpired since then. And I think the title of today's message, Hope and Healing, a Global Mission. I think that's so appropriate given the new developments with Heal the Hood and the work we commit ourselves to in Milwaukee, and now this global impact that we find ourselves making. When I was last here, I had just came from Africa. I was in Africa for a couple of weeks down in Durban, South Africa, on a pilgrimage, what I call it a soul journey, if you will. I went to learn, to grow, to see, to experience I had no intentions of going over there to teach, but I found myself in a high school building a partnership. I found myself in a multi-art center there, where the children did acting and drumming and dancing and singing. And I taught an African drum class there. And so for me, coming from where I come from in Milwaukee, coming from poverty 101, coming from the slums 101, and being able to go halfway around the world and teach my craft of African drumming to little beautiful African children was a different accomplishment for me. That spoke volumes to me in my soul. I'm here presently in Door County, but I think my soul, my spirit is still somewhere overseas with that weather, okay? With that weather, with the beautiful scenery, the greenery, but the spirit of the people was so amazing. When I partnered with the high school there, Hunt Road Secondary High School, I worked with some sophomores and juniors. They were part of an after-school program, this entrepreneurship club that they had there. And those were some of the most genius human beings I had ever met in my life. I'm telling you the truth. Now, I don't negate any level of struggle or poverty or income deficit that we come from here in America, right? We go through it. We have our own struggles. But overseas, oh my goodness, when you go and looking at those third world countries and you begin to see things a little bit differently, you understand what the struggle really is. However, those children there at the high school, they speak 6 or 7 different languages, 5, 6, 7 languages, mathematical geniuses, artists. I mean, can paint with their eyes closed. They play instruments, several instruments. They have such an affinity for God. They love to talk about journaling and writing poetry. But again, they come from half of the opportunity, less than half of the opportunities that some of our children have here in the States. And so when I came back to Milwaukee from that journey of South Africa, there was this thing in my head and in my stomach. I couldn't figure out, how do we bridge that gap? Okay. How do we look at the struggles that our kids face overseas, but they know how to use a book and education to overcome that thing, because that is the true key to freedom. How do I bridge that gap and get my babies right in Milwaukee to think that same thing? Right. And I have not slept on that idea since. More recently, I was in Belize this year for 3 weeks. I went to Belize in September and October, and it was a journey. And allow me to just park us here for a moment and talk about this Belize trip. I think for myself, I've always been fascinated with the idea of wanting to live overseas. I like a simpler lifestyle, right? I'm not big on the technology and all of the fancy stuff and the resorts and the hotels and all of that kind of, glitz and glamour. I want to connect with the people when I go overseas on my journeys, and Belize offered me just that. A couple of things that just stood out to me tremendously. I was able to speak at the Belize Central Prison there. And Belize is a third world country. Oh my goodness, it's third world, but the happiness that the people have inside of their bodies is different. It's different. But nonetheless, at the Belize Central Prison, I was able to speak to about 300 inmates or so, and we had a phenomenal time. I had my African drum with me, so we drum. They allow inmates to come up and drum with me, and they showed me some Belize rhythms, and I showed them some West African rhythms, and we connected, and we had fellowship there. But there was a particular man during the question and answer period, and it blew my mind. And I'm still digesting what God has in store for me for my next level. I'm still digesting what the lesson is from this one particular man randomly at Belize Central Prison out of 300 prisoners who raised his hand to ask a question. He said, Brother Butler, you said you're from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, right? And I said, yeah, you probably don't know nothing about, where I'm from. He said, on the contrary. He said, I was born in Belize. When I was about 6 or 7, I moved to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He told me that he was raised in the area right off of 27th and Fond du Lac, 28th and Meineke, if anybody knows the Milwaukee areas. And I was raised right off of 20th and Locust, which was walking distance from each other. He even went so far to tell me that he went to a school called Cass Street Elementary School, CASS, Cass Street Elementary School. Me and my oldest sister went to Cass Street Elementary School for a year. Now, unfortunately, I was not able to connect with him one-on-one so I could learn more of his story, try to figure out some timelines. Well, when were you in Milwaukee? Tell me more about, your journey. When did you come back to Belize? So on and so forth. And I can remember very distinctly in that moment, after he told me this Milwaukee thing, it blew my mind. And I went on and answered the question. And I, walked across the stage and, answered the question, went on to the next question, X, Y, and Z. But I was so stuck in that moment in what God was telling me. What is God saying to me to know that me and this beautiful Belizean man can come from extremely similar backgrounds and end up in the same place at the same time on 2 different ends of the spectrum, on 2 different ends of the conversation, on 2 different sides of the coin? And so for me, was it a confirmation? Yeah, you on the right path, Ajamu. Keep doing your thing. Keep doing what you're doing. Was it a reminder of where I could have been? Was it a reminder of certain decisions that we still have the ability to make? Most of us, we try to wake up in the morning and we want to do good. But sometimes it's that split decision where we divert from the good that can land us in the thing. I was listening to a brother talk about being in prison, and he said, I had issues with somebody. I was out and about. I had issues with somebody. In 5 minutes, we argued. In less than 1 minute, the bullet went from my gun and took that life. And that situation has cost me 7 or so years of my life. A 5-minute dispute leading to a less than 1 minute interaction has led to the impact of 10 years plus of his life. And so what I'm saying is, in that moment in the Belize Central Prison, I really had to remind myself of the decisions that I could have made, the decisions that I did make, the grace of God that was over my life, because I like to believe that me and that young man, we share some similar decision making too. Okay, we grew up in the same hood, in the same area, in the same zip code, one of the worst impoverished zip codes in America, 53206. I would imagine we was making similar decisions, but there was a grace over my life somehow that just put me in a different position. It sent me on a different trajectory. One of my other favorite things about being in Belize, I partner with a high school down there. And again, just as an educator, to be able to go around the world and study different educational systems, to look at different disciplinary systems within the school, to look at different extracurricular activities within the school, it just fuels my brain, and I absolutely love it. And so I partnered with Belmopan Methodist High School down there, and it was amazing. And in the Methodist community, they are very, very humble, very meek. They sing hymns similar to what we do here this morning. And again, as we mentioned, I'm very loud and proud and just, And so when I was speaking with the kids, you could just tell they were itching for more, because I'm just, I'm dancing across the stage. I'm loud. I'm talking about traveling overseas, coming from Milwaukee, being an author, my African drum, so on and so forth. And then once the question and answers get to popping off, you just see hands just shooting in the air. And then you see personalities start to come out. Now we laughing a little bit more. Now we asking questions about romance, money, traveling, gardening, martial arts, all of these type of things. And I love those kids so much. I was able to work with about 200 kids within a 2-day span, doing workshops from freshmen all the way up to the senior class. And the seniors were amazing. I think obviously they're a little older, so they had more charisma to them, more, experience, more imagination to them, if you will. So we had a phenomenal time. But what I wanted to do was make sure that I went back to the high school, which was only a small 5-minute bike ride from the house in which I stayed at. I wanted to go back to the high school and volunteer. I believe in servant leadership to the core of it all. I can go anywhere and teach and preach and talk about this, and you should live your life this way, and you should learn about Heal the Hood, and you should do X, Y, and Z. But can I go serve? Can I go pick up a broom? Can I go help move a table and a desk? Can I go become a part of the people, the same people in which I want to love on, educate, inspire, and heal? Can I become them as well? In the Bible, it talks about when you go amongst the Jews, you become the Jews. When you go amongst you become them. When you go. And so when I went and volunteered, it was so amazing. The kids, they just kept wanting to, where's your African drum? Let's do another conversation. Let's go back to the church and drum some more. And I'm like, y'all, I'm here to clean and, do my thing here and move books around and organize. But to see leadership serve, I think there is an element that we find missing for those of us who may be in leadership position in nonprofit, maybe leadership position in education, maybe leadership in our own household. There's an element of service. The day of do as I say and not as I do, that's long gone. That's left us with a generation of chaos out here. Okay? Because what if you can no longer talk? What if God took your voice away today? How would you still minister your message? How would I still be able to talk about service, leadership, hope, healing through my works, through my hands, through my commitments of love, how I treat one another, how I spread kindness? That's how you begin to really push your mission of hope and healing. And so working with those beautiful brown babies in Belize, and they were from everywhere, from Guatemala and Mexico, and I mean, just everywhere, just a beautiful sea of beautiful brown faces. It was amazing. There was one young woman, she came up to me, she was a 9th grader. And when you talk about the move of God, sometimes when I acknowledge the move of God, it stops me in my tracks. And I like to say every day while I was in Belize, God was just giving me revelation after revelation after revelation after revelation. It was amazing. But after one of my workshops with the freshmen, there was a beautiful young Belize girl who came up to me, and she wanted to have a side conversation about my routine with God. She said, "You a believer?" I said, "Yes, ma'am. I'm a believer. I go to church. I, read the word. I'm I'm, intersectional. I got Muslim family I love on. I got, Jew family I love on, X, Y, and Z. But, I do go to church. I'm a believer in Christ. Yes. And she said, well, I try to read my Bible every day, but sometimes I get sidetracked and I don't want God to be mad at me. And I just want to be a better steward of the word. And what is your routine of God? And so what I told her was, I said, my love, at my church back home, we loud. Same thing I keep ministering here. We loud, we shout, we run laps around the building. So there are times where I have a Holy Spirit encounter that leaves me weeping. I mean, I'm just in church with my head on the altar weeping. Sometimes I'm weeping for myself because I may be going through whatever storms life is presenting with me. Sometimes I can look over and see a mother with her 2 sons, and I'm watching her weep and pray over her sons. Now I'm weeping too. Because I pray that my tears today water somebody's miracles tomorrow. So I told her there are times after church when I had those real heavy Holy Spirit type encounters, I take myself out to breakfast. My sister is also a member of my church, but she lives outside of Milwaukee now. She's in North Carolina. But she pays attention to the church online. She does the streaming. And so me and her would talk over breakfast, and we just dissect the word and dissect the scripture and talk about who is yelling the loudest. And we just have a great time. But that is a piece of my routine to make sure that I don't just have that encounter and go on with my day. I want to sit in that thing. So I say, let me go have breakfast by myself. I have a good friend. She goes to church with me as well. Sometimes me and her might go do brunch after church. But a part of my routine is real reflection. Not just doing the shouting, paying my tithes, and going on about my day. Let me really reflect on that word. Let me look over my notes. Let me go back to the scripture. Let me see what the word is feeding me on today. I told her a part of my routine when it comes to praising God is being into martial arts. A lot of people don't know on my journey, I dealt with blood cancer. I was 13 years old. Getting chemotherapy every week, every Wednesday, getting chemotherapy and vinblastine. And I was having to take these antibiotics and all of this. And my hair was different. And I had gained so much weight. I was 13 years old and I had to relearn how to walk on a walker. So imagine me going to high school. Here I am going to high school on a walker. And then my ego is telling me I don't want people to see me on a walker. So now I got a cane. But now I'm accidentally forgetting the cane at home but I still can't walk nonetheless. Okay. I still can't walk nonetheless. But what I told that young lady was, when I do martial arts and I get on the mats and we learning these new techniques and we rolling and we wrestling and we doing, for me, that is a way to praise God. Because there was a point in time where the activity of my limbs wouldn't allow that at all. And do I have to take my time now? Absolutely. And are there times where I'm on the mats and I for sure overexert myself and I'm leaving the dojo, walking like this here, my back is stiff, I need Bengay and a heating pad and so on and so forth. So I do overexert myself, but I'm so thankful. Because I do remember when I couldn't even, run in place, let alone do jumping jacks, do jujitsu, X, Y, and Z. And so I told her that your routine of God does not have to look like go to church, read the Bible, make sure you pray, it's finding those smaller ways to acknowledge the presence of God. It's smaller ways in being able to be humble for what God has given us, because there's so much more that's in store, but we come from so much, or we come from lacking so much, so to speak, is what I'm telling this young lady. When I was in Belize, one of my experiences is that just kind of blew my mind, right? I'm just parking here for a little bit longer, and then I want to talk about some other developments we have coming up with Heal the Hood, some other projects and partnerships that we worked on in the last year that all contribute to the message of healing the hearts, healing the homes, and healing the hoods. Because that was our message last year, if we can remember. We talked about that self-work and how once you get that self-work together, then you get your house in order. And then after you get your house in order, then you can be effective at making change in the community, right? But when I was in Belize, I was sitting outside, and I tell you the truth, it had to be 300 degrees outside in the shade. It was hot. I mean, it was hot. I never experienced heat like this. I've been in Africa and throughout Central America, but Belize, the sun is like the neighbor to Belize or something. So it was just hot. And I'm on the phone just complaining my life away about the heat. I don't have no plans for the day. It's one of my chill days. So I'm just sitting outside complaining about the heat. Right. This Mayan woman rides up from the church in which I did my partnership work out there in Belize with. She rides up on her bicycle. Everybody out there has a bicycle. It's her and her daughter on the bike. They got full length dresses down to their feet. She had to come and charge her cell phone and her Bluetooth speaker. This Mayan woman, what I realized, came to the pastor's house to charge her devices because she don't have electricity and running water where she stays at. And even to get to the bike, to the pastor's house on the bike is a nice solid 15 to 20 minute ride, while carrying your baby on the handlebars on top of that and a book bag on your back. And so I took care of her, got her plugged in. Okay, auntie, I see you when you come back. You come back in a few hours, she'll get it together, pick it up and everything. But before I got back on the phone, I said, God, if I ever complain about the minute things of life, may I swallow my teeth. And I meant it too. I tell you the truth, I meant it. And what I was drawn back to was, there was a day early this year, I broke a mechanism in one of my windows. And so my window wouldn't go up and down. And for whatever reason, I didn't get it fixed. It happened in the winter, so I didn't plan on raising the window up and down too much at all. But I hated this. I just hated not having an active window. And I said, I complained about that. I was almost upset with God to a degree about that. I had the money to get it fixed. I made a conscious decision not to get it fixed for whatever reason, but there was still something inside of me. And then you see this beautiful Mayan woman ride up on her bike just to charge her cell phone. I said, God, if I complain, may I bite my tongue till it hurt. And so Belize gave me a different type of perspective shit. I've been to Jamaica and Panama and Africa, and all of these places I've traveled have always kind of just expanded my perspective. You can't really travel around the world and not come back with a renewed mind. But Belize and the level of service that I committed myself to while I was there was just different. Doing the food giveaway at the church. We every first Friday of the month at the church in which our partnership down there, they do a grocery bag giveaway. And we had about 150 grocery bags that we packaged up and gave away to the community. And there was one particular mother, and when she came to get her bag, she was so happy. She said, my son's 15th birthday is on Sunday, and this is his birthday gift. She said, we have not had food in the house, so I'm going to be able to make him a meal. Now, listen, family, we're not talking about steak and shrimp. We're not talking about a taco bar in which we gave them. We're not talking about Alfredo pasta with salad and breadsticks. We're talking about beans, rice, cabbage, couple of onions, couple of tomatoes, couple of bananas. It might have been, and maybe a couple of onions or peppers or something else that we added in there. But she was so humble and appreciative to be able to make her son a meal on his birthday, and that was his gift. And we got our kids nowadays for Christmas, they want a $3,000 phone, and they want for their birthday a iPad with the newest thing. And I'm not saying, hey, listen, if you're blessed to get it, go ahead, get it and enjoy it. But when I heard that mother say that's what she provided for her, it made me say, Ajamu, you are a good dad. As much as I doubt myself when I say, oh, this fatherhood thing is just, it's so hard. I'm trying to get this thing going. My son, he just don't listen. He's in his own phase. I'm trying to build a stronger connection with him. As much as I complain about fatherhood, I now had a new perspective. I now had a new perspective on how much I am actually taking care of my son, and how much I am actually actively loving on him, and how much I am actively connecting with him and showing him a better world than what I had when I was his age. Another thing that has developed since we last met, the same time frame last year, I have a partnership contract with the Youth Detention Center, the youth jail down in Milwaukee. And this thing is a mind-blowing contract that I have. I'm there 4 hours throughout the week, working with the young men and the women who find themselves in there for smaller things. They may be a runaway. They may be, in and out of group homes and the foster care. So they find themselves as a runaway. And so they have to unfortunately spend a little bit of time there, all on the way up to young men and women who done killed 2 or 3 people. And they 15 years old, but they probably won't get out until they 50. Till they in their 40s. Now, I do the poetry curriculum. Now, I do a creative writing curriculum. Now, initially, when they asked me to do it, I said, wait a minute. You want me to go to the youth jail with them ones really in the trenches, terrorizing this thing, and you want me to teach them poetry? Okay, come on with it. Come on with it. And so it's always interesting to watch the dynamic of the young men and women who, you always got your group who they like creative writing, they like creativity, they like being able to have an activity. They like somebody with my energy who comes in laughing, teaching, and preaching, talking real good on them. And so they like to do their assignment when I'm in there. But then there's that demographic who was never taught to dream, who was never taught that it's okay to use their imagination. I have a 10-year-old client family. 13-year-old. They got an inmate number before they got a high school diploma. You see? Before they could get a driver's license. And so you always have this demographic who may be a little discouraged from life because the environment around them does not support the greatness in them. And so when it's come time to do the writing assignment, they might not have nothing on their paper. And I come around to them, come on, man, you got to give me something on your paper. You got to give me at least a line or two. I can't just let you have a blank paper. And I say, well, who's your favorite rapper? Who's your favorite singer? Beyonce? Okay. How many Beyonce songs you know? 100, 200, 300? You know all her albums? Okay, we're not going to give Beyonce more creative flow in our head by us memorizing her songs, and you can't give me at least a couple lines of some poetry. Cat in the Hat, sat on the mat, and then he ate up a rat. Okay, this is all I'm asking for. If you can give me that. Okay. And so I go around, I check in with all of my other young brothers, all of my other young sisters. And by the time I come back to this one student, he might have a whole paragraph. We might have a half a page. And what I realize is that sometimes we allow our children to accept defeat, and we support that acceptance. And sometimes I have to isolate them and say, listen, stop telling me you can't do this. I'm asking for a 4-sentence paragraph with some little poetry. I've given you the topic. I've given you, we went through our instruction. We did examples. You're equipped fully to knock this thing out. But the biggest barrier is how I feel about myself, the confidence that I have in myself. Maybe it's I don't have the most confidence to spell the words I'm trying to spell. Maybe it's I don't have enough confidence to understand my sentence structures and how do I really communicate what it is that I'm feeling and what it is I'm trying to say. And so on one hand, when I'm there, I'm very conscious and cognizant of the demographic in which I'm dealing with. This is the youth facility there. These some of them young brothers and sisters. These are some of them ones. But there is so much love in my heart for these young people because I've started to really learn their stories. Now, and just because you learn somebody's story does not excuse a behavior by far, but I understand. And the Bible that I read teaches me in all understanding, get an understanding. And so you really learn, okay, little Ajmu is not a criminal. He's really not. I had a young woman, she told me, she said, Butler, I don't steal, I don't sell drugs, I don't drink, I don't tow guns, none of that. She said, I got caught in a stolen car because my mama stopped coming home for a few days and I really like to go to school. This is what she's telling me. I really like to go to school. I stay so far away from school, I can't catch the bus there. I would have to get up 2 hours ahead of time while it's pitch black outside. I definitely can't walk to school. So I stole a car and I use that to get back and forth to school. Now, naturally, we don't excuse it, right? I'm glad that she's a straight A student. This is blowing my mind, right? I love that she's a straight A student. I love the ingenuity in her to say, I'm going to get to school one way or another. But I can't say she's a criminal. I couldn't deem her as a criminal. You learn about the young men who had to put food in their houses. They were 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. They don't know about going to school and after school programs. They know my dad is not here. My mom is not here. I got several other siblings. We need some food in here. We keep getting these letters saying that the light bill is late. And if it keep being late, then we're not going to have lights in our house. We keep getting this type of information. We keep getting these pink things on our door saying eviction notice, so on and so forth. So now my role as the young man is to step into a role so I can help to provide. Now, again, I don't excuse any of the criminality that my young brothers, my young nephews and nieces find themselves involved in. But when you understand, you can diagnose the problem a little bit differently. Okay. I don't want to give you cold medicine when you might have a flu. But because I have a misdiagnosis, now I'm treating it the wrong way. And we just taking a bad situation and making it a little bit worse. And so what I've learned is that through my travels in the last 365 days, through the work that I've committed myself to with the young people, through my travels throughout America, and through my travels going down to Belize, I've learned that purpose is a hard path to walk on. It's a very hard path to walk on. We like to talk about do good in the world and be kind and stand out and be courageous, be revolutionary. That takes heart to do that. And the world we living in right now, when you do right, you wrong. And when you do wrong, you perfectly in alignment. Somehow up is down and down has become up in this world. And when you make that choice and say, I want to be different, you standing out. You somewhat put a target on yourself for everybody to start to now examine your life. But what I've learned is that, especially through working with my young people, perfection is not a goal of life. I don't think that there could ever be somebody amongst us who is just perfect health, perfect wealth, perfect heart, perfect mind, body, soul, X, Y, and Z. But what we can do is strive to simply be better. And this is what I always tell my young people. We locked in this situation now. We really locked in this thing now. But the goal is to, when we wake up tomorrow, be better than we was today. If that means today I'm going to start reading a book, okay, we'll start doing that. If it's maybe I'm going to work out and get some physical health about myself, okay, start doing that. Maybe you want to eat healthier, start doing that. I always tell people that God is found in the smaller details of life. So when you want to make that transformation, myself, I'm a vegetarian. I've eaten meat one time on accident before. It's a funny story, not the time for it now, but I've eaten meat one time on accident. And so when I talk to people about health and wellness, it's never me saying, hey, stop eating meat. Hey, don't eat the dairy. Hey, so on and so forth. Just put an apple in your diet. Just throw a salad in the mix every couple of days or so. We nowadays don't even believe on an apple a day to keep the doctor away. That used to be a real remedy. That, you can write that on the paper and take that to the pharmacy. That's real teaching right there, okay? But what I tell people is, if you can take the stairs instead of the elevator, there's small things in life. Right? You can take the stairs instead of the elevator. Drink some water in the morning before you drink your coffee. Don't go straight to the coffee or straight to that thing that wakes us up in the morning. Give us a refresher, right? Let's do a little bit of stretching if we can. Get some movement and some momentum in our bodies. Those smaller details make up God. This podium that we're looking at, in its entirety, it's a thing, but it's held together with small screws, small nails. It's the glue. It's those smaller details that make this thing a thing. And all too often we neglect those smaller details. Maybe it's because we have a certain title in this world. Oh, I'm the CEO, so I don't have to worry about. Oh, I'm Mr. International Travel, so I don't have to worry about those smaller details. But that's where we begin to neglect God. That's where we begin to neglect community. That's where we begin to neglect ourselves. When we look over those smaller details because we're too high up on our horse. Okay, we're too high up on that horse. Okay, now how much time do I have? Because I'll get to. I don't know who. Last time I had a timekeeper, it was kind of waving me down in the back. Okay, but giving me this energy, right?
Well, it's getting close.
Okay, it's getting close. I'll teach for another hour. Well, close ain't close enough. But nonetheless, y'all just stop me. Just cut my mic off when I'm done, okay? But I don't even need the mic, so that's a thing. All right. Being able to look at adversity. Somebody asked me the other day, I was having a conversation. We had a beautiful conversation over lunch, and we just talked about God and just spirituality and life's journey and all of those deep questions and things like that. And he asked me, was I fearless? And I said, absolutely not, brother. No, I'm fearful of a lot of things. Like, I don't like butterflies for whatever reason. I would rather be away from butterflies. That's a thing for me. I'm not a fan of heights. You won't catch me on roller coasters and things. A plane is different because I know I'm going from here to there. A roller coaster, you got to do all of this. I would rather not. I fear dying alone. That's a big fear of mine, especially in that love department. I fear not having a partner to share life's ups and downs with, and then we end our lives together. We do this thing called life together. I'm fearful as a father, right? Anytime I turn on the news in the communities where I come from, boys, my son age, I just told y'all, my son is 12. I got clients as young as 10, 11, 12, 13, right in the jail right now. So that's a huge fear of mine. But what I told my brother was, there's a little bit of faith in me, and I have some boldness in me. And I think both of those combined is what allows me to override my fears. I find myself in situations where I'd be like, Butler, how did you even end up here? Maybe I'm at a college somewhere teaching and preaching, or maybe I'm in the room with these movers and shakers, and I'd be like, Butler, how did you even end up here? But I doubt myself. And it's like, but you're here. No need to pinch yourself. Just walk in your greatness. No need to question why me, question why not me. I deserve all things good that come to me. And so I think this year, starting, closer in January, has been for me one of the best, most transformational years thus far. And I think with life, obviously, as we get older, we can start to say more and more, oh, this was my best year, this was my best year, this was my best year, naturally. Because prayerfully, we can learn from things and we can grow a little bit more and try new things. But for me, I think this has been my best year because it started off the first maybe 6 months of this year was the worst year for me. And that's what made it the best year. And I tell you, the things that I had to deal with the first 5 to 6 months of this year, a couple of years ago, I would have been trying to take my own life. I would have been just depressed, stressed, not bathing, not eating, neglecting my son, not leaving my house, X, Y, and Z. But there's been a perspective shift in my belly. And there's just this fire that's inside of me, and I can't pinpoint what's next. I can't pinpoint where this fire is going to take me. But what I do know is with that fire that's inside of me, you can burn a village down, or you can cook a meal for that same village. Prayerfully, I can use my fire for some good. Prayerfully, this thing in me that's yearning for change, that's yearning to get on a plane and travel overseas and learn more and grow more and write more books and experience more things and learn new tools. Prayerfully, I can use that thing to affect change in the world. So I'm just a little black boy who was born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, who had no idea that life would unfold how it did. But even my name itself, Ajamu, my first, middle, and last name is Ajamu Nasor Butler. Ajamu Nasor those are Yoruban words, West African terms. Ajamu means the one who fights for what he wants. My middle name, Nasor, means victorious leader. And I've always looked at Butler as a person to serve. When I was younger, and people would talk about my name so bad. Oh, Ajamu. Oh, ha, ha, ha. Oh, you got an African name. Ha, ha, ha. Because that's how we do. We don't take pride in cultural empowerment. In my community, unfortunately, it's the thing that we've been taught to laugh at. Oh, you got an African name, or you a little different. Oh, you a vegetarian. Oh, my God, so on and so forth. So there was a point where that really got into my spirit, and I hated myself. I hated my name. I hated that young man in the mirror. But my name means the one who fights for what he wants. My middle name means victorious leader. So nowadays, I'm so thankful to my parent because words have power. I believe that we can all acknowledge that in this room. What you say out of your mouth, what you call somebody, be it their given name or the name you choose to give them, it holds weight. And so there were people who laughed at my name, but there were people who spoke my name with empowerment because they understood. We're not naming you for today just so you could be named Jimmy Butler. We're naming you because we need you to have purpose in this world. And every time somebody speaks your name, they speak in purpose unto you. And little did I know that as a little black boy growing up in the ghettos of Milwaukee, I would be who I am today. And I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful. I begin to kind of wind down my message, or this portion at least, with there's a presentation that I've been doing. It's called From the Block to the Globe. It's called From the Block to the Globe. And it's just a PowerPoint that I have that details my global journey. I have a lot of stuff in the beginning that talks about my humble beginnings, my parents and my siblings, and just, being raised in Milwaukee. But there's a picture I have. And for one, I love the picture because I do love that suit I had on. We were going to a military ball. There was a military ball at one of the high schools, and I was going with one of my sister's friends at the time. And I just had this baby blue suit on and this gray hat, and I was posing, one of these here. And it's just, I love the picture. I love the picture. And what I've been telling people when I get to that particular screen is that black boy right there hated himself so much. He legitimately he did not have a friendship circle. He got talked about because his clothes was different. He got talked about because his hygiene or how he wore his hair or X, Y, and Z. He was so different. He was talked about, and he hated himself because of that. I said, if I could tell that little 15, 16, 17-year-old boy, bro, hold on, because you got something in store for you. If I could tell him that, I would have never had a thought of self-harm. And that's not even to say I didn't have people in my life encouraging me. I got great parents. Tracy can attest to that. I got a good village of support around me. I always had people who spoke life around me. But as a child, we know that peer pressure is a different type of pressure. That pressure from that girl that you like, and she laughing at you because she don't like you back. That's a different type of energy and pressure. You want to hang out with the cool kids over here, but I don't fit in this angle. I don't necessarily fit in this angle. That's a different type of pressure. But when I get to that slide in my presentation, before we talk about all of this global stuff, and I show these videos and pictures and all of this, I said, there's no way I could be who I am today if I really gave up on him. And so I'm thankful that my attempts didn't work. I'm thankful that my plans didn't go as planned when I was 15, 16, 17, and I really had fear in me. My fear never went away. I'm human, but I have boldness to me. I got confidence in me, and I got faith in me. And those things can override fear when you sow into them properly. Nowadays, long are the days of gone of there's a thing going on, and there are 10 things that can go right and 5 things that can go wrong. I'm so focused on the 5 things that can go wrong. And it's 10 things that can go right. And more than likely, the 5 things that can go wrong, 3 out of those 5 are probably stuff that I made up in my head that are probably unpractical and realistically will not happen at all. And so when you're dealing with hope and when you're dealing with healing and when you got that life mission, it's just about shifting your perspective a little bit. It's about figuring out, how can I serve the next man? How can I serve the next woman? How can I love on these children who come from homes where they raised off of survival and not love? How can I live tomorrow better than I did today? How can I be more excited tomorrow than I am today? How can I give more to this world than I take from this world? And for me, that has kind of created this young man that you see before you, who is passionate about education, who is passionate about literacy development, who is passionate about traveling the world, who is passionate about love, who is passionate about God. So I pray that you took something from my words here today. I know we'll have a break, and I think we'll do the same format with a question and answer if I'm correct. There we go. So we'll have a little bit more time to jam and talk and, you know, shake hands. And I do have some of my poetry books with me as well for purchase, and some Heal the Hood t-shirts if anybody would like to support and purchase on the back end for that. But I think that is my time, and I appreciate you all for having me. Absolutely.
Just as before, a wonderful, wonderful message. Thank you so much. Please rise for hymn number 211. I will now extinguish the chalice with these words by St. Francis of Assisi. Where hate rules, let us bring love. Where sorrow, joy. Let us strive more to comfort others than to be comforted, to understand others more than to be understood, to love others more than to be loved. For it is in giving that we receive, and in pardoning that we are pardoned.